So when starting out a farm, there's also a question of how many chickens to start with, how many chicks to bring in. So before start out, there's always that question. Now, I've received a number of those questions, but answering them, takes it's a bit subjective because there's no straight answer to that particular question. So welcome back, guys. Today is the second week of the year, and 2025, and we are in the business of rearing chickens for eggs and called layers. These are the Isa Brown breed that I have right here. And let me actually get to that question. There's always a question of how many chicks to bring in. How many chickens to start with when you are doing this before you start this business. So we have beginners out there asking, I want to venture into the chicken business, but I don't know exactly what to start with. Should I bring in 50? Should I bring in, 80, 100, 500, 1,000? And I always go with, it's always subjective, guys. It's not something that has that specific answer. It's not a question that has that specific answer because it depends on a number of things that you have to consider first before you bring in your chicks. So one of them, and I'll just look at them in no specific order, one of them being actually the space that you have. Now, just take a look at this. Now, this is my space right here. It's not that big. It's actually, this is around the room itself. The whole room itself is actually 10 meters by 10 meters in length by 4.5 meters in width. So that should be around 40 to 45 square meters of space. Now, I'm not using all of it because I've actually made a partition in that section right there. If you can see, there's a partition there, there's a door, sort of some entrance there, which I use to store some of the feeds because I use it as a store so that I don't have to keep it in a far distance from the chicken. So that's where I actually keep the feeds. Now, that's the question. The question is on the space. So do you have like plenty of space? Do you have enough space? Let's say you want to bring in 500 chicks. Do you have a space for 500 chickens? You see, do you have it, or is it 100? Do you have space for 100 chickens? So it's always a question of a number of things, guys. One of them being the space that you have. Now, another thing, that is number two, you will actually look at how much money do you have, guys. It depends on the pocket. Do you have enough money to support that kind of venture, guys? Now, right now the cost of chick, day-old chick, for a well-known company in Kenya which supplies those is actually 150 shillings. And 150 shillings for one chick, that's a lot. That's way over $1 and something, way over $1.20 there. So that's a lot. Now, if you want to bring in 500, let's say for instance 500, and it means you have quite some money in your pocket you want to spend. You want to start medium. I don't know if 500 is big or actually medium, but you want to start with 500 in that order. So it means you should have more than $600 in your pocket now, just for the chicks alone. You haven't factored in the space, you haven't factored in the feeds for that particular 500 chickens, because the assumption is all of them will survive. You see, all of them will survive that particular period all the way to the point of laying. So you're assuming that no chick will die. You see, so you have to factor in the feeds for the 500, you have to factor in the space for the 500. You see, so that's the question, guys. That's another factor to consider. The money that you have, are you well off in terms of the money, your finances? Are you good enough that to go with that particular number? Now we may start with 50 depending on your pocket. You may start with 100. There's no problem with the number of the chickens you start with, as long as you are able to feed them. And I think that's the most important thing, as long as you are able to feed the chickens. So people ask me, how many chicks should I bring in for this venture? I want to venture into chicken farming. How many chickens should I bring in? How many chicks should I start with? So people are wondering, like 50, should I start with 50? Should I start with 500, 100, 200? Any number, random numbers are being thrown out there, but it always depends on, that's one factor, guys. Are you able to feed them to the point where they're able to start laying? You see, that's the question. The 5 months that you're able to feed them, are you able to do that? Do you have finances for that? Are you do you have some direction in the money that are you expecting some cash in the next 5 months? frequent cash in the next 5 months, guys? So that's the question you should answer yourself first before you decide how many chickens you want to start with. A small farm can actually be profitable depending on how you go about it, because it's all about feeding, it's all about taking, putting in systems. No matter how small the farm is, you have to put in the systems that will actually make the birds, grow to that level where they're able to lay and they're healthy, guys. Now, it's all about animal husbandry, taking care of animals in different stages to the point of maturity, guys. And it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of money, guys, depending on the number of chickens that you want to start with. Now, for me right here, I didn't start with this. I actually started with way before in 2022, 2021, 2022. I started with brooding. I actually brooding my own chickens. So I started with around 50. Those were now local chickens. They weren't that productive as I had expected, but I was a newbie in the business, and I had to go about it. That's how I went about it, because it wasn't that profitable at that particular time, starting out with local chickens at that particular time, because I didn't know anything about eggs business. I didn't know much about sell this particular breed of chickens. I didn't know actually where to actually fetch them. I knew of the company called Kalisi, but I never bothered to look around, search, get some more information about it, about these layer, specifically these Isa Brown breed that I have currently on the farm. So I started with the local chickens because now that helped me a lot to gain a lot of experience in terms of a bit of experience in terms of taking care of chickens, the vaccines, learning a lot about vaccines, learning a lot about how getting vaccines is one thing and actually vaccinating the chickens is another, because those are actually, it takes a lot of effort to actually do that, especially if you are starting out, which means you are alone and you are doing most of the work alone, guys. So it takes a lot of effort in learning, guys. So I got a bit of experience, a lot of experience actually in that field, starting out with the local chickens, and which is what I will recommend I will recommend that actually for anybody starting out with venturing into the poultry business, guys. I'll recommend you start with the local chickens, maybe 50, 20, whatever number. Just start with them, 10, gain experience, and I prefer that you start with chicks, guys, the day-old chicks, so that you learn how to take care of them. It's a whole process, the whole system that brings the chickens out to the level where they're able to actually become productive. So you better start with the chicks, provide it for them, provide medicine for them, and it's a better learning process. Give them the correct number of feeds, know which feeds to feed, give them at particular ages, at 1 month, 2 months, 4 months. So you have to know that, guys. After that, you will have gained more experience, you will have learned a lot from the business, and therefore you're able to expand to a larger pool of chickens, guys. Because starting with the 50 or starting with the 10, it gives you the same experience as starting with 500. Because if I started with 10, let's say 10, 20 chickens, and I'm able to bring them to a level where they're able to mature, 5 months they are mature and they start laying, it means the same formula can be applied to chickens which are, which a large number of chickens, because it's just started the same process, guys. There's no different steps. It's actually the same process of raising the same chickens. So if you can able to raise 20 chickens, 50 chickens at once, then after that it means you can be able to raise even 1,000, 10,000 chickens, guys, because this process is the same. The process is the same when it comes to raising birds or animals, guys. The process is actually the same. So it's so awful, guys. I was look at those chickens. They're actually screaming for an egg. I think there's an egg which is broken. This is the problem with that. It's one of the many challenges with these guys. So they're actually scrambling for an egg. I think there's a broken egg right here. So these are some of the challenges you cannot avoid. Chickens laying on the floor. Because I'm using this is not a battery cage system, because it's actually deep litter system. So you find chickens are free to lay anywhere. That's the problem. That's the problem with laying on the floor, guys. So if it was deep litter, if it was a cage system, guys, I couldn't experience such problems. But well, that's it for That's one of the challenges of it's a small thing, but I think I should have collected those eggs way earlier. The solution is actually to collect them way earlier than expected, so that you collect them, you move around every 1 hour, you move around the chicken house, so that you get to know, pick the eggs, because it's not a one-off thing, because some of them get to lay on the floor, and well, we just have to collect the eggs. That's just actually the solution. There's no other solution to that, because we cannot actually force a chicken to lay some specific place, because as you can see, there's some which are laying there. Is it clear? I think you can see that they're a bit squeezed in there, but it works. Yeah, this is the good thing. It works. This is the good thing with that. It does know that there's no specific number of chickens you can start with. I've actually given you two main factors that you have to consider. The main one being the question of, are you able to feed the chickens to a point where they're actually able to start laying? So that should be your question. Do you have money for the 5 months? If you are starting out with these layers, guys, do you have money for 5 straight months, guys? And because you don't want to get to a point where but maybe you have money for 3 months, and then the rest of the months you are struggling to actually feed the chickens. Because if I had brought in 1,000 chicks, guys, and I could afford at that correct time to bring 1,000, but I had not factored, well, but I do not actually have the specific, cash to actually run through for the 5 months. I could have gotten to a point where I've fed the chickens for 2 months, I have money for 2 months, but the rest of the 3 months, guys, I have no money. Therefore, that will actually affect the growth rate of the chickens, and some actually may die, actually, because if you start feeding them poor feeds, guys, they may end up dying. They may end up malnourished, and you find that you are losing your flock, guys. And you need to have money, guys. You must have money, regardless of the number of chickens that you start with. You must have money to actually feed the chickens. Finally, guys, I've done some calculations here, and these are just estimates. It takes this is in Kenya. It takes approximately 1,000 shillings to actually raise one chicken to the point where it starts laying for the 5 months. So it takes 1,000 shillings to raise one chicken from the day old to actually 5 months when it actually starts laying. So if you bring in 1,000 chicks, guys, it means you need exactly 1 million Kenya shillings or more than 1 million Kenya shillings to actually get to the point where the chickens are actually lying. Don't forget that the other costs associated with bringing up the chickens, like vaccines and the feeds, rather vaccines actually, and other things may come in that you have no control over. So you need money for that. But on average, it takes 1,000 Kenya shillings to raise. That's around I don't know what, $9. Chicken is actually loud. So this is around $9 or $10 to actually raise a chicken to a point where it's able to start laying. So if you can do those estimates, guys, if you want to bring in 500, it means you have close to 500,000 Kenya shillings. You see. So that's just an estimate, but you can do your own math, and maybe the cost may be high here because 1,000 is a lot. May be high here because of a number of things, because I'm very far away from some farms or some markets, so that's maybe one of the contributing factors. But if I was in a location where I'm able to fetch raw materials quickly, or I'm able to plant some of the raw materials, in this case I'm talking about maize and maybe soya, I actually end up cutting costs on that. So that's it, guys. So hit that subscribe button and like, and also can share the video. I believe this information is very useful for people who are starting out, and starting out for me, I didn't actually have these well explained information on the internet, because I had to do most of the googling. I had to do googling, read through all sorts of websites, guys, and they're giving different information. So you're lucky you're getting this information, and it's a lot from different people on YouTube. Is actually a lot. So subscribe to the channel, because there's more coming, guys. There's more coming, because this is more of an experience that I'm selling out. It's not a catalog of things I've written down. No, it's actually an experience that I'm actually selling out, because this is what I'm going through, guys, every day, every single day, every week, and I post about it, I talk about it, so that maybe you're able to learn from it and you reduce on the mistakes, guys. So subscribe.